Welcome to episode 8. The next guest is a guy that is so unique. He is such a cool dude. He's a father, he's a single father, works in property and he's done some boxing, but that's not where the story goes. This story is not like anything I've ever heard, or probably you've ever heard before. Matty goes into some pretty interesting spiritual stuff. I've never met someone that's been able to connect with people that have passed away. And not just with, himself, but with people that he's never met before. Matt's party trick, as he likes to call it, is something that he's never really spoken about before. And although some people might think that it's woo-woo, after today's conversation, I have no doubt it's not. Like always, the men that come on these podcasts are your everyday average guys. They are brave and they know that their stories are going to be heard. And it is encouraging more and more men to get on these podcasts, so thank you. And once again, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And even if you have, be kind enough to share these episodes and hopefully we can continue to grow this community. Anyways, welcome to episode 8 of Squeezing the Plums. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I am genuinely excited to have you as one of my really good mates.
Thanks, mate.
Join me on here. And I'm going to start off with something which is, I saw you go into the ring, 12 months ago now?
Yeah, 10 months, last December, around that time frame. So,
and I know a little bit about you, I know a little bit about your history. I just want to know, besides that point, when have you ever felt that fire like you did when you went in that ring? Because I saw a man that went in there that was ready to fucking take it on next level, yeah? When did you first feel that fire? How old were you? What were you doing? Can you give that to me?
Yeah, I think for me it's always been sport. Like I've always been very sporty. I've always played some form of sport. And I think as a young kid playing cricket, my dream was to play for Australia. That's what I wanted to do. I actually remember coming home one day and telling my mum, I'm going to play cricket for Australia one day. And she's like, I wish you had that passion for school, because I didn't. So I was very driven with sport. I've played lawn bowls since I was a young age, which most people might not know is quite a big sport these days. And I dedicated a lot of my life to being good at it. And it's because I had a passion for it, a fire for it, a drive for it. So I think I was pretty young. I started playing cricket when I was 6 years old, I guess, 7 years old. No, you're a cricketer.
Yep.
So,
how far did you take the cricket and the lawn bowls?
I was pretty good at cricket. I actually stopped playing cricket because of lawn bowls, which I never thought I would do. I played representative cricket. I was quite quick. I'm short, but I was quite quick. I was a good bat too, but then my batting sort of lapsed as I got a bit older. But lawn bowls I've taken quite far. I've represented 2 states. I've played for Victoria, played for Western Australia. Could have played for Australia. Didn't quite have the probably the maturity from a behavioural standpoint. It was very professional when you had to really fit the mould and commit to the cause. I wasn't in the Australian squad, and I nearly played Commonwealth Games for Malta.
Yeah, right.
I would have played if we could have got the dual citizenship, but we didn't end up managing to make that happen. So, yeah, quite a high level. And I still play at a high level now. I've resigned from state bowls and those kind of things and representative stuff, but I still play Premier League in Melbourne. And
You said you represented 2 states. You grew up in Adelaide?
I was born in Adelaide, grew up in Melbourne, lived in Perth for 10 years as well. So,
right, okay.
I've been all over the place.
Yeah, and so tell me, what age did you move from Adelaide to Melbourne?
Oh, when I was a baby, I was 2.
Yeah. And was there a reason? Did you kickstart something? Was it,
With what? With sport or?
No, when you moved, was there?
Oh, my parents separated.
Okay.
Yeah, so mum left dad.
Yep.
So, and we went and lived in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So she was very young when she had me as well, and so I was just a baby. But I still do remember actually living in Melbourne when I was 2 or 3, which is interesting. Running around on my bike, my little 3-wheeler. So, yeah, that's what sparked that, unfortunately.
You know, you're the only bloke that I know that has a mum that's pretty much had you the same age as that she had me. So
Yeah.
my mum had me 10 days after she turned 18.
Wow.
And I know your mum had you what when she was
She was 17. She was 16 when she was pregnant with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it been for you having a young mum growing up? Like I know how it's been for me.
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting experience. How's it been for you?
It's been tough. I'll be honest, we've got quite a strained relationship, unfortunately. Like, I care about my mum and she cares about me, but I think, her being so young was hard for her. She made decisions to, obviously leave my father, who had a very big and tight-knit family, Italian family, that, were always together. So obviously she left and we lived by ourselves. Like the rest of my family's in Geelong, we lived in Melbourne, so we didn't really see them much. So I think that was hard. We had to do things on our own a lot. It was challenging.
I know that there was an age for me, and it would have been a lot later in life, probably when I was in my early 20s, when I was like, fuck, I now get it a little bit. Like, she was so young when she had me, and here I am thinking she's my parent, so she has to know it all. Was there an age for you where you're like, oh my God, like, how did she do that?
I think probably not until I was a bit older, maybe until I was mid-20s, because I think I was just living in the moment. I didn't realise. And then I started to realise, I was like, wow, she's like not that much older than me. If you think about it, like I've dated people her age. It sounds weird. It sounds weird, but it's true.
Yeah.
So I actually remember asking you about your dad's age, and I was quite surprised when you told me how young he is as well. The other night, I think it was. Yeah. So, look, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful, and I've developed certain skills because of it. And I don't harbour any hard feelings towards her. She's done the best that she can do. And, I think it would have been tough.
There's a lot of people that now are growing up with single parents. What were the benefits for you, and what were the difficulties for you, especially at school? And probably back then there wasn't as many divorces as there are now.
Yeah.
So it would have been a very different environment for you in school. What were the challenges, and what were the things that you learned from it?
I think it helped me build resilience. That's for sure. Like, I had to work out how to do things for myself, especially boy things, man things. Like, my dad was there, but he was in Adelaide, so I would go and see him as much as possible. But I didn't have a dad there guiding me through childhood like I would have liked. So it made me stronger. I had to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet. So I think it's helped me become quite independent, which sometimes is not a great thing either. But, I'm proud of what I've done to cope with my upbringing. I don't want that to come across in a bad way, but I think resilience and also an appreciation for just when good things come in your life, like being grateful for them, because they can disappear. So I think we need to be grateful and not take things for granted.
Was it hard at school at all? Like, I know when I was growing up, I really struggled in primary school. Like, my parents were together, but my dad was like, I don't know, being the eldest son, he was a fucking hard ass on me. Like, he was pretty much like my coach for cricket and footy, right? So I could talk to him about sport, but anything happened at school, and it was like, he was very dismissive of like how to deal with it from a verbal perspective. It's like, just stand up for yourself. I'm like, I don't know how to fucking stand up for myself. It's like, and so one of the things that I struggled with was being able to deal with those emotions. And so I never spoke about them. What happened in your primary school years and your secondary school years, and not having dad there all the time? How did you deal with those emotions? And did you speak to mates or friends, or did you just like go, fuck it, I'll figure out?
It was quite insular. I struggled to open up about things. I've probably only really been a lot better at opening up about things in the last few years, which has been nice. But it was tough. My dad's similar, probably generational thing, same kind of age. he was very much like, I experienced quite a bit of bullying in school. He's like, I'll just fucking punch him in the face.
Yeah, like old school, just like what?
He's like, just whack him. I was like, I don't want to do that, Dad. I'm too scared. Like, I don't know how to punch someone. I don't want to punch someone. I know how to punch someone now. I still don't want to punch people, though. So, yeah, look, I think it was tough. It was tough. But I think toughness breeds, I've always been big on polarity, which is that opposites occur for a reason. You can't appreciate something good unless you've experienced something bad. So, and that taught me, I've only learnt that as I've gotten older, but I think those experiences molded a lot of good things in me as well. Yeah.
It's one of those things, polarity is such a good example of like, there's a lot of younger generation that get a little bit of a tough time with certain things. And it's like, embrace that shit. Because when you get something good, you're like, fuck, how good is this? Whereas you see the people that, may have the easy ride, and then all of a sudden they almost plateau, or they lose that like hunger or drive or purpose. And so I guess from my perspective now, you've got through your primary school years, your teen years, you're going into past school. What happens now? Do you move out straight away? Do you become your own man? What happens?
Yeah, I left early. I think I moved out of home at maybe 16, 17. Left school pretty early as well. School was definitely not for me. I think one thing I've learned about me is that I don't like to conform. I don't like the traditional approach to things. I've always been quite rebellious in that respect. So, I think like most young kids, like I discovered partying, girls, mateship at a deeper level. I think when you're 18, 19 and you start bonding with mates in different ways, it's pretty special. It's pretty powerful. I always had a big sort of brotherhood of friends that I spent a lot of time with, and they almost become more like my family. So I just got caught up in this wave of just doing everything with my friends. I always worked really hard. I always had ambition. I didn't know exactly what that was, but I was always driven. I didn't want to just cruise through safely. I wanted to go, all right, I'm going to cause some waves here. I'm going to make a difference, or I'm going to achieve something. So I was quite driven. I always worked very hard, but I think the partying probably affected me a bit much. It held me back a bit, unfortunately, and I'd probably change that if I could. But here we are. Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
When you moved out at 17, were you anxious about moving out? And like, man, it's such a big step. Yeah, terrified?
Terrified. I suffered really badly with anxiety, like chronically diagnosed anxiety.
What do you mean chronically diagnosed?
Well, chronic anxiety. That was the disorder.
At 17?
Younger. I was about 12 when it started, 11 or 12.
Can you tell me what that even looks like for a 12-year-old?
Hell. I think the best way to describe it is imagine the worst fear that you could ever have. I don't know what your phobia is, or you might be terrified of spiders, for example. Some people are terrified of spiders. And you're constantly in a chamber with spiders crawling over you. That's what it was like for about 20 years.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's actually quite an emotional thing. I try not to go back to those emotions because a lot of me has moved past that now, which is really good. But when I think about it, yeah, it's an emotional emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, shit.
Yeah, lots of hospital trips, panic attacks every day, every night, wouldn't sleep. Yeah, for a long time.
Do you remember your first one? Can I take you there?
I actually remember it. Yeah, look, I remember my first experience with anxiety when I was really young. So I think I've had it since I was a kid. I think maybe 5 or 6. I remember saying to my dad, I'm going to die young. Like, I'm going to die, Dad. I'm scared I'm going to die. That was always what my fear was around, was death, and that I was going to die. I mean, I'm going to die, but sooner than I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I remember that quite young. I remember being a kid in the front yard of my dad's house playing cricket and then just thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die really young. But there's been beauty in that as well. The polarity, once again, has led me towards being quite a spiritual person, you know, exploring death and those kind of things. Sounds morbid, but I don't think it is morbid. I think it's a part of our existence, so we need to understand it as much as we can. So there's been some beautiful things that have come out of that as well.
So at what point did you said you moved through it, right?
Yeah, very slowly.
Slowly?
Very slowly.
Are you through it now?
Yeah, most of it. Look, I still live with anxiety. I think it's a normal thing to feel, not at the point that I used to. I now sort of... I fought with anxiety. I think I told it to fuck off. It got to a point where I was like, you know what? Fuck off. You're not welcome here anymore. See you later. And everything that you've done to me, all of the heart attacks and this is what happens with anxiety. You feel physical pain. I've been in ambulances many times thinking I'm having a heart attack, but I wasn't. And I got to a point where I was just like, fuck off. I'd get a pain in my chest and be like, whatever.
Jesus. I do not recommend that for people at home. But
you know what I mean? I mean,
no, but I get what you mean.
I don't recommend that either.
Yeah.
But if something's really serious, I'll act upon it.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm like, should be right.
I remember a time I started at high school at a private school, and I got a cricket and footy scholarship, and my first game of footy, I had what was a panic attack for sure. I barely could run onto the field, and I couldn't move for the first half. I couldn't move. My heart was moving and beating and in strain for so long. I genuinely had no physical capacity to move my body.
Yeah.
It's an awful feeling.
Mm-hmm. Especially in public.
In public, yeah, especially when people are watching you. And
Yep.
yeah, and that was like, I didn't know what happened. I'm really interested to know what kind of practices you mentioned spirituality, and I think there's a lot of blokes that sort of look at it as taboo. I don't now. I've had to do it and look at it for my own shit. But when did that sort of journey start for you? And what did you start practicing to start to deal with, let's say, this chronic anxiety? And, you know, if you can, when you can, did you look into the concept of death as a part of spirituality as well?
Yeah, I think I wanted to try and understand it a little bit more. I wanted to explore what might happen when you die. Do we just cease to exist? Do we carry on to something else? Like, what happens? And I think my desire to learn more about that opened up experiences for me. I've had some pretty profound experiences, especially as a young man, connecting to things that aren't no longer around us, people that have passed away, things that happened to me. I used to see entities. I used to have people come to me in dreams. I spoke to you about this the other day, but somehow I'm able to communicate. I believe I'm able to communicate with people that have passed away. Sounds a bit woo-woo, but it does happen. I don't really know how to control it. It sort of comes about in different ways, and sometimes I honour it, and it pretty much always is honoured back. So yeah, and then I started reading. I started exploring different people. Esther Hicks is someone that I started following. Don't know if you know her. She channels through a spirit called Abraham, so she's called Abraham Hicks. And my grandma's very spiritual as well. I'm very close with my grandma. She was probably, I was a lot closer with her than my mum. And she's very spiritual. So she started to talk to me about these kind of things and the law of energy and, affirmations and these kind of things. And I started sharing some of my experiences with my grandma. And there's been some pretty deep ones. And she, at no point in time, doubted me. She knew that there was something going on. She'd experienced things and the way that I reacted to things and things that I told her. And she was like, what just happened? I'm like, this just happened. So she really helped me explore spirituality. And People like that I learnt from. There was a book that I read called Afterlife, which I just resonated with deeply. The stories, I was like, that feels really familiar. Like I understand that. So, yeah.
When you told me this, I was pretty like, I was fucking gobsmacked, dude. My Aperol spritz, I was sitting down on Sunday with you, having a cheeky drink, and then I've known you for a while, and I see you in the boxing ring and all this type of stuff, and then you tell me about that side of it, and I guess I personally have no doubt that there's something bigger than, what our senses can put together and fathom. Was there a story that you can think of that you share with your grandma that sticks out with you as something that was pretty profound?
Well, I'll actually share a story that I don't know if it's spiritual. I think it is spiritual. Like I connected with her on a spiritual level with this experience. One night I was living in Perth. My grandma lives in Geelong, so quite far away from each other. I woke up with a panic attack at about 3 o'clock in the morning, which was nothing new. And I felt really sick and really scared and panicky, and I sort of processed it. I was like, all right, stay calm, it's all good, work it out. And what I processed was that it wasn't me that was actually feeling sick. I was feeling someone else's sickness, someone else's pain, someone else's panic. So it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I basically worked out very quickly that it was either my mother or my grandmother. I wasn't sure which one. So I made the decision to contact them 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. So I tried calling both of them. Neither of them answered because it was whatever time it was. Went to sleep and I felt a bit better because I felt like the contact might have helped. And went to sleep, woke up. Mum called, is everything okay? Why did you call me so late? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, cool. Okay, great. No worries. Grandma called me back. And my nana's like, if something happens to her, she doesn't talk about it. She's like, always about other people. She's like, are you okay? Why did you call me so late? Is everything all right? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I said, but you're not. Something's wrong with you. I called you because I felt your pain. I felt your panic. And she started crying straight away. The exact time that I called her at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, she was in her car driving aimlessly because of an experience that she just had, which was traumatic for her. And she was in a very bad place. And she was blown away by what I felt for her. And so I don't know if that's a spiritual experience. I've seen and spoken to people that have passed away. I've told stories about people to friends, to people that I connect with that aren't possible to know.
There was a time, I feel like my mum is like this person.
Yeah.
There's always this thing about mother's instinct, but I remember for a fact that my brother was out late one night. So was I actually, but he was out and he got himself into a bit of trouble actually. And I won't say what, but he ended up walking through the door at like 5:30 in the morning, like just had the roughest night ever. And Mum was waiting on the staircase. She said, something's not right. Are you okay? Mm. And I'm like, fucking hell. What the hell? How did she, she's in bed normally. And she was literally like waiting up. Mm-hmm. And it does say something. There is intuition. There is something out there. It's so hard to explain. And I know, people might listen and go, oh, fucking woo-woo, whatever. But I'm sure everyone's had that moment where they're about to cross the road and they stop.
Yeah.
And the car goes by and they go, fuck, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And that shit just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think I told you the other night as well. Like I've told people that they have cancer. I've told people that they're pregnant. I tell people things about them that they only know that they're dealing with deeply. I think I told you my party trick. It's quite a insensitive way of explaining it, but my party trick was to have people line up that I didn't know, and I would they wouldn't say anything, and I'd just read them. I'd tell them personal things about them that they were dealing with, And most people would cry and be like, next. Righto, this is what's going on. This is what you're feeling. This is what you need to deal with. This is what's happened. You know, your dad abused you or, you know, whatever. And people would just leave gobsmacked.
Have you done that on yourself?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Yeah?
Constantly.
Is that fucking hard?
Yeah, it is. I try and block it off. Like I was seeing someone recently and we also had an experience where she was telling me about a grieving process she was going through, and there was someone, she felt like someone came to her to help her spiritually. And I was like, oh, was it this person? She's like, what? I was like, oh, is this her name? And the name's an Asian name, so it's not a name that I've ever heard before. I was like, oh, is that so-and-so? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, cool. For the next hour, I explained what she did, what happened, what she went through. The funny thing was actually, you know, and she believed, the person I was talking to believed, because I was sharing things that only she would know. And I got to a point and we were communicating really deeply with Leung, is her name. And I said, oh, your light's about to turn off in 3 seconds. The lamp in her bedroom.
Fuck off.
And 3 seconds later, boom, light turned off. In front of me, I seen, because we were FaceTiming. And then my lights turned off in the next room.
What? Oh, no.
I can add I can add a bit more to that, actually. I was telling my grandma, I was on the phone to her 2 weeks ago, and she said, oh, have you had any spiritual experiences recently? I said, oh, Nana, yeah, this happened. And I was like, and then I told her that her light was about to turn off, and it turned off, and she goes, my computer screen just turned off exactly at the same time that you said that, and my computer screen doesn't turn off. So
That's...
do with that what you wish.
Yeah. Whoa. I mean, have you ever thought about doing that as a job?
Yeah, I have. I think, like, I find, this is going to sound quite woo-woo.
Yeah, go
and
on.
maybe a bit depressive, but, you know, I find being a human quite difficult. My belief and understanding is, through my learnings, is that we are spiritual, having a human experience. We're here to learn, to evolve, to develop. That's the meaning of life, in my opinion. I don't push that on other people. So I found being a human really difficult. I think we sign up for it. I think we sign up for different experiences depending on what we've had in past lives to evolve. So I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I have thought, you know, I think there's probably more to this. I have used it in good ways, like, you know, in business and sales, I'm able to help people get through things that they might not know they need to go through because of that intuition and that perception. So the answer is yes, I would like to do more of it, but how that looks, I'm not sure yet.
There's a book, I know you said one, but there's one that I read. A girl I was dating gave it to me, which was like, oh fuck, here we go. What's going on? And she gave me this book. I believe it's called Many Lives, Many Masters, something along those lines.
Did you send that to me the other day?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. When you told me about that, I was like, I need to share this book with you. And I reckon 90% of the people that would have read this were probably women. And so if there's women listening to this, then they'd be like, oh my God, I know that book.
Hi, ladies.
Hello, guys. And it talked about a psychologist that couldn't tap into a young woman that was coming in and seeing him. And he decided to do hypnotherapy with her. And I won't go into to spoil the book, but effectively the hypnotherapy allowed him to take her back into past life experiences. Yeah. And since then, he's been doing that with thousands of people over in the States.
Past life regression.
Oh, man, and it gets me like, I get tingly with this stuff because I'm like, you know, what do you do with this information? How do you even deal with this? I mean,
you learn from it.
Well, yeah, you learn from it, and you also probably try not to take yourself so seriously.
You're not going to get out of it alive.
You're not going to get out of it alive. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
you know, and so that's shifted my perspective, that book, a lot. And I know you shouldn't trust everything you read, but you read that, and I speak to people like yourself, and you go, there's something else going on. And I've had my own very interesting spiritual experiences, where kind of out of body experiences, and you've gone, all right, I'm going to stop trying to grip onto everything. I'm just going to let things flow and let things work out as they will, and do your best.
I had an experience 2 days ago. Just lying in my bed, I felt the need to meditate. I was like, I'm going to meditate. And I just had a beautiful experience. It was out of body. I traveled. I've told you that I won't get into it, but my body, my spirit went to a different place, 100%. And it was just an enlightened experience. I felt no weight on my body whatsoever. I never fell asleep, but I lay there with my eyes closed and I went to a different place, and it was so beautiful. The most beautiful feeling that you can experience, in my opinion. I just woke up, opened my eyes, and was just full of joy. And I was actually meditating because I was going through something difficult, really difficult, and I was in a lot of pain emotionally. And I came out of that just feeling amazing. I was like, how powerful is that?
Does this spiritual sort of connection allow you to predict things?
Yep.
Oh, fucking here we go. Is this podcast going to go? No.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How's it helped you or hindered you in moving forward? Then, do you know what's going to happen, or is it something like it just comes to you, like you've said, and your gut or your intuition will go, "Yep, this is not the right path because X will happen."
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Especially with relationships and people, I can tell very quickly if a relationship's going to work or whether it's not. A lot sooner than other people are able to work it out. I've just gone through it again recently.
Can you just say when you knew that it wasn't going to work?
Well, this experience happened when I channeled. So the person that I've been seeing, we've just recently, she decided to end it. I knew she was going to do that quite a long time ago. It actually came to me in that experience. Leong said to me, she actually communicated to that person and said, you found a good match here, as in with me. Don't run away. But she was also saying to me, she's going to run away. It's too good. It's scary. And that's exactly how it happened. So that's kind of experience has happened a lot of times to me before. And I still choose to, a lot of the time, have faith that they can work through that. But it's rarely the case.
You're a dad.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a beautiful little girl. She's growing up. Does she know this about you yet? Have you?
Yep. Yeah, she does. I mean, I filter what I say to her a little bit, but I also want her to be able to decide for herself. So I don't want to hide things from her. I do talk to her about this kind of stuff, in a bit of a dumbed down version. Shouldn't say dumbed down, but, just a bit more of a simplified version. And she loves it. We talk about positive things, understanding positive energy and how it works. And, she's expressed her fear about, being sick, dying, and those kind of things as well, because kids think about that stuff too. And I try and impart positivity around the spiritual experience to her, and she's very intrigued by it.
There's not a lot of dads that speak to their kids about that stuff, let alone about anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially, when we're being raised, we had to be protected from being told everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end up being stiff and trying to figure out your own way. What's been the positive about being open, with your daughter, and how's that come to pay dividends for you now? Because I know that there's, going to be dads listening to this that try to protect their daughters from all the information, and it's a tough one to sort of balance out.
I think you got to be careful when you think you're protecting someone. You could be doing damage. We do need to protect them, but we also need to let them experience hardship and understand hardship, because they're going to experience it, and they need to understand what it is and how to deal with it. I wanted to break the pattern. My parents weren't very emotionally available for me. I needed a deep love. I've always been quite a sensitive person. Even though you think boxing and these kind of things, and I've got tattoos and I look tough, well, whatever, I'm actually a very sensitive person. So when I became a father, I made a commitment that I would make her know, I would do everything that I could to ensure that she knows that she is deeply loved, she's deeply supported, she's like, I'm in her corner, and I will be there for her. But I will also let her go through things. You know, her mum's quite opposite. She's very like, don't do this, don't do that. It's dangerous. It's scary. It's right, which is fine. That's just her. That's cool. We still have a good relationship. You know, we separated a long time ago, but so we parent a little bit differently. But that's been my choice to go in that direction. I want to support her in my own way, and we have an incredible bond. An incredible bond.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It's something where, you know, when you have, like, you know, I've got a little sister, but we, you know, for instance, even about, I now talk to her about my relationships, which, by the way, I wasn't allowed to date a girl, let alone if she was an Indian growing up, right? So good luck speaking to my parents about that. But now I want to make sure that there is that openness. Doesn't mean that you can't enforce values, and doesn't mean you can't enforce good behavior, and those things are fucking important, but there's a level of openness where if you're open, you're going to be able to provide a, you know, environment where she can return the favor, or your son or your daughter or whomever that is. That story that you shared was, I mean, I'm still trying to put it all together. It's pretty amazing. We did ask that initial question around why you don't do it as a job, and you did kind of answer that. You're currently in a role now. You're in a startup. You're in business. You hustle hard. You work hard. Give us an idea of what you do now. I mean, I know now that you've got this side to you, but what do you do day to day? And
Enter at your own risk if you want to do a startup.
I can say that again.
Enter at your own risk. Yeah, I'm on my fourth startup now. So, third startup. I started the watch brand, and then I decided to leave a high-paying corporate role. I've been in the property industry since 2007, so 15 plus years now. You know, most of that working for the man. My last experience, quite a high senior role with a large Australian building company. And as I explained before, conformity is not for me. The corporate world was not for me. I'm quite a spiritual, sensitive person, as I've explained. And the corporate world is very cutthroat. You know, dog eat dog, dollars and cents. You know, people sacked. I was just like, this is not for me. I'm out. I'm starting my own company. I had 10 grand in the bank, you know, which is not
much.
Not much. To start your own property group, competing against these guys that, you know, I've been working with who have $1 million a month marketing budgets. I was like, no, this is what I'm doing. So I started it about 4 years ago, a company called Purchase Homes, created a model. Well, I didn't create it all myself, but I came up with a concept that I thought would work, and it did. So we act as a middleman between land developers, building companies, finance companies, and broker a deal for people depending on what they're looking to do. And had the business within 12 months doing very well.
Great.
Extremely well. Talk about polarity and not taking things for granted. I mean, I wasn't experienced at managing money at the level that I was making it because it was a lot. And I thought, this is great. How beautiful is this? It didn't change how I felt. Like, money's never been I've never had money. Well, in that time I did, but and then the main building company that we built the whole business, or I built the whole business around, overnight went broke. Went into administration, voluntary administration. They hadn't had their building insurances in place.
No way.
We had a lot of clients with that building company who now didn't have a builder, had half-built homes. We had a very large amount of income owed to us, a lot of money, 6 figures plus, that was coming in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Like, important money. I was on the phone to the GM of the company and he said, look, I've got bad news. We've gone into administration. We can't pay you. We can't help your clients finish their home. And one of the problems with building is as soon as a slab has been laid, most building companies will not take over that job because of liability and insurances and whatnot. So for the next 6 months, my sole commitment was in making sure that we found new solutions for our customers. We never got a negative review once because of that commitment to fixing. Every one of our clients ended up having a positive, in the end, a positive experience. But that sent the business pretty much. I mean, it's back up and running now. I've merged that company with another company called Byfair Property Group, which is also a startup, which I've been working on for the last 12 months. So I've now merged Purchase Homes with Byfair Property Group and run the two. And yeah, it's been brutal. We've just gone through, and I really feel like we're coming out of it now for anyone who's interested in property and cycles and those kind of things. We've just gone through the worst property downturn and market that I've certainly ever experienced. And I started in 2007 when 2008 global financial crisis and those things. So I've been through 3 now, and this has been the worst by far.
Yeah, right.
By far.
Is this because you're at an age where you are invested versus like in 2007? Maybe.
Well, it didn't affect me then. Yeah, I didn't care. Like, I was just a startup kid starting real estate. I just hustled, and I did really well. I didn't have, liabilities and debts to honour, and because I had to take out some quite heavy capital to keep the business going, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have just shut the business down and came back when I was ready. So I don't know what the point was that I was trying to get to, but
well, it was. I'll just go into that story you just shared with me. Obviously, when the builders said, "No, we're going into administration," was there ever a moment where you're like, "I've got to leave these clients that I've got," or were you like, no matter what?
No way. No.
You see that happen a lot.
Not a chance. My reputation as an honest, transparent property advisor, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with people's future, their financial future. When they make a decision to invest because of my recommendation, it's scary for me too. It's confronting because I care about them.
And so when those buildings got finished off, so obviously was it your merger with Byfair Property Group that allowed you to do that?
No, that's totally separate.
Okay.
I basically just hit the road and spoke with every builder that I could. No, we can't help. No. Oh, we can help after however many tries. I was like, thank God.
Fuck.
Thank God. Oh, we can't help with that one though. Okay. No.
That level of resilience, obviously, you spoke about that at the start, right? And you spoke about polarity and you spoke about going through fucking hard times. I call it sweat equity when you work on something and doesn't necessarily pay off, but it pays dividends later on down the track, right? That shit's real. And that seems to be what you went through in the last 3 to 4 years with that resilience. Now that you're in a startup again, you need to do this again. Do you ever feel that cycle of having to continually be resilient is ever going to go away?
Constantly. Well, look, I think you always need resilience.
But sometimes it's like, fucking enough's enough, yeah? Just give me the win, right? Just like,
yeah.
Does that cross your mind? Like, I've had it.
Oh, of course. All the time. All the time.
Did your spirit tell you you're going to fucking dominate this one or what?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's been communication in that respect.
Yeah, that's always good.
Back to the woo-woo.
Yeah.
But no, look, I'm at a point now where it's probably the deepest that I've felt it. Like we've just built, I'm so proud of what we've built. I've built a beautiful business. I'm really, really proud of it. It's a business that's focused on helping people. You know, we're creating things that no one else has ever created. We've just developed a game, you know, invest in property game, which I don't think anyone else has ever done, which is cool. We haven't launched it yet. We built a display home and turned it into an investor center. You know, you haven't been out there yet, but it's a pretty cool experience. You know, we had a family come in on the weekend and two young kids, you know, and we've developed this center where there's cartoons throughout the whole house and there's a map. You got to tick off you got to find the cartoons and tick off. And these kids, I was like, kids, do you want to try and find the cartoons? They're hidden throughout the house. Yeah. Their eyes lit up. And the mum was like, what the fuck is this? Like, who is this guy? Like, what, you know, I've just come to look at a display home. And the joy that it brought to these kids going through this house. And like, I hid one of the cartoons in a really hard spot intentionally so that kids are like, we can't find this last one. And I always try and help them and say, well, maybe have a look over there. And just the joy that it brought to them was like, you know that feeling.
Yes.
I was like, we're building something really special here. And it has to work. And it will work because it's valuable. It's very valuable. And that's where wealth is in value. If you want to be in business, it's a little tip for people in business. There's many, many much more successful people than me, but develop value. It needs to be something that's really meaningful to people. Like what you're doing is valuable to people. And that's why, you know, I want to support you too, because you're doing something really, really cool, really special. It's valuable. Yeah, so I have no doubt that it's going to work now. Doesn't mean that it will, but I think it will.
I started off, you know, this podcast about talking about you getting in the ring. You going back in there again?
I think so, yeah. I'm at that sort of 60-40 mark where it's because it's a big mental commitment to do it. It's a pretty confronting experience.
You spoke about anxieties and panic attacks and all this type of stuff. Going to the ring, I'm going to ask, is there an irony where you don't feel that?
No. No, it's terrifying. Absolutely
I
not.
fucked up that question.
No, look, I remember I've fought twice now.
Yeah.
It's professional. I don't get paid, but it's professional. You've been to the last one. It's a big event, Melbourne Pavilion. We main evented last time, which was cool. It's the experience is wild. It's like the first time I did it, I remember stepping into the ring in front of all of these people and just going, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I've got this guy who's a weapon. The first guy I fought, my God, he was a weapon.
Yeah.
Just looking at me like, let's eat.
All good.
And we beat the shit out of each other for three rounds. But as soon as that experience was over, I could feel the growth. Like, immediately. Immense growth spiritually, physically. When you go through something like that, it builds courage, resilience, strength, confidence. You know, like I won't get bullied again. I used to get bullied quite badly. Like, you won't bully me now. And I don't need to resort to physical confrontation, but it's a confidence within yourself. It's like, no, don't do that. So, I don't encourage people to go and fight, but go and do something that's meaningful to help you grow, because that confrontation it's powerful.
And and we speak about fighting, but it could be going in front of a crowd and doing a talk.
Yeah.
That's scary as shit.
Yeah. It's only scary though when you I try to help my daughter through these kind of things too. It's only scary because you haven't done it. Like doing a talk. I've done quite a few talks now in front of people, and it's confronting, but you become more comfortable with it. Because it's like, okay, I've done this before. I'm okay. Like the last time I fought, I was more comfortable than the first time. And this time I would say I'll probably be more comfortable than last time. So, like, try things that scare you.
Well, what is it? They say fear and excitement effectively produces the same feeling within the body, but fear, you're predicting the worst, and excitement, you're predicting the best.
Well, fear is just not knowing what the outcome's going to be. That's anxiety, is not having certainty around what's going to happen. And we quite often create this literature in our head that it's going to be bad. It's going to be a terrible experience. I'm about to fight. I'm going to get hurt. You know, my last fight, I did get hurt. I got knocked down in the first round and I was hurt, hit in the back of the head. But that was a learning experience for me too, because I've got people screaming. I've got a ref counting at me. I'm on the ground. I've just been hit in the back of the head, which you're not allowed to do. If you get hit in the back of the head, it's more damaging.
Sure.
The world's spinning. I could have easily just stayed down, no problems. I was legitimately hurt. So I could stay down here, no probs. Not a fucking chance.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Got back up. He then broke my nose. Hit me shortly after I'd been dropped. The ref stopped the fight again. You know, blood nose. I was hurt. And then something just hit me. There's a clip in the fight which I love. I really love it. And it's where I go, come at me. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it, but I do. And it was a beautiful experience for me because it was like that resilience again, that will to get through a really hard experience and keep going. Like I don't think you can ever lose until you quit. When you quit, you lose.
Yep.
That's it. But we're taught, oh, if you don't get that score, you fail. You failed that exam because you didn't get that score. It's like, well, it's not a pass-fail for me. It's a process that you need to get through. You win or you learn. So
there's no better way than to finish on that. You win or you learn. And I'm really hoping that, you know, whoever has dialed in today has learned something, you know, whether it's been through how to deal with a little bit of anxiousness, or not a little bit, serious amount of anxiousness, panic attacks, through to maybe even a little bit of fatherhood advice, or maybe stop trying to hold on to things and, you know, explore that spirituality of yours a little bit. Don't be so masculine that you can't go deep within yourself and look a little bit deeper than maybe what you would have in the past. Thanks for opening up, Matty. Honestly, mate, it means a lot for you to come on here and be vulnerable and share your story, because to talk about shit that maybe people would look at you twice about is not easy. And I know that you haven't really spoken to many people about it, so thank you. I'm very honoured that you decided to do that with me, and I'm honestly hoping that, you know, this conversation can spark a little bit out of the men that have listened to this. So thanks, brother.
Thanks for having me. I think just in finish, like for men in particular, masculinity is important, but opening up is also important. Firstly, a problem shared is a problem halved. If you're struggling mentally, depression, whatever, speak. It will help. I promise you, it will help. Open up. Like, we don't always have to be strong and tight-lipped and, you know, stoic. Be okay with being vulnerable. Open yourself up. And the men have a very, very important role in this world. Very important role. We need men to be strong, but also gentle. So, yeah, thank you for having me. I've truly enjoyed the experience. So, thanks mate.